of yesteryear. We happen to be on the 15th of Elul. That marks the Hilula of a famous Italian rabbi of his time. His name was Rabbi Isaac Samuel Reggio, very famous rabbi, and much has been chronicled about him, much is documented about him all over the place. And I believe he was born on the 15th of August in 1784. To be precise, he passed away on the 29th of August in 1855. He was a great rabbi of his time. He was, let's say, an Austro-Italian scholar and a rabbi, and very interesting. I think he would both be born and passed away in Gorizia, if I'm not mistaken, which is northeast of Italy. Let's explore some of the highlights of the famous rabbi's life. Now, he would learn Torah and rabbinics under his father, Avram Avita, I believe his name was, and I think we spoke about him on various occasions before. Later, he was obviously the rabbi of Gorizia. He would, at the same time, let's say, develop like a strong knowledge base with regards to secular science and languages. Now, it's interesting. Rabbi Reggio's father was, let's say, one of the more liberal rabbis at that point in time, who would support another, I think, Rabbi Hartwig Wesley. And he paid special attention to the religious instruction of his son, who displayed, let's say, unusual aptitude in Hebrew. And at the age of 14, he wrote a metrical dirge on the passing of Moshe Hefetz, who was the rabbi of Gorizia. Now, Hartwig Wesley, I think he was a Hebraist in of itself, an educationalist. I think he passed away himself in the year 1805. Now, I think he was more on the side, let's just say, of the Haskalah movement, if I'm not mistaken. Also, he actually even had association with Moses Mendelssohn. So remember, he was part of the Haskalah, and many people would not necessarily advocate him, especially people connected to Orthodox Jewry. But be it as it may, where this is a historical class in of itself, more historical class. So we are going to speak about Rabbi Reggio, because he obviously made his imprint at that point in time in Italy. So he would, and he had an aptitude, let's just say, for Hebrew. At 14 years old, he would write a metrical dirge on the passing of Rabbi Moshe Hefetz, who was a rabbi of Gorizia. Again, now, besides Italian, his mother language was, which was his mother language, he would also know French, German, and Latin. He studied several Semitic languages in addition to Hebrew, and had a clear, let's say, if not very, very crystal clear intellect, as, let's say, mathematics offered the widest field for his analytical talent, let's just say, in of itself. Now, he would see this as one of his favorite studies. I think come with the year 1802, he would publish in a newspaper the solution of a difficult mathematical problem, which gave him reputation as a mathematician. I think called the Neue der Zeltung, if I'm not mistaken. He would also have, let's say, a new demonstration of the Pythagorean theorem, which was praised, I think, by various different French mathematicians, if I'm not mistaken. Come with the year 1803, he would move to Trieste. Well, I think he was there for 3 years. He was a tutor in the house of a wealthy family, it's reported over. He would befriend another person, Mordechai Isaac de Colongda, if I'm not mistaken, who passed away in the year 1824. And Reggio wrote a funeral oration in Italian, if I'm not mistaken. And come 1807, he would get married to the daughter of a wealthy man, I think in Gorizia, and settle down to life of independent study. I think, yeah, so I think it was appointed by the French governor, I think around 1810, professor of Belles Lettres, of geography and history, and chancellor of the Lycée of Gorizia. But I think 3 years later, he became again an Austrian province, and the Austrian anti-Jewish laws compelled Reggio to resign. Now, it's actually interesting, he devoted himself exclusively, let's say, more to the literature in the Jewish field, let's just say, at a later stage in time. And various subjects he would study, reported over Kabbalah. But the more he studied it, I think, let's say, in his opinion, the greater grew his aversion to mystical, allegedly, doctrines, let's just say, in of itself. That was his opinion with regards to that. Now, remember, we stated before that he would look as guides to some of the people, the forerunners of Haskalah over here, which we, as a Orthodox Jewish channel, we don't agree with the derech that they took. Like, for example, Moses Mendelssohn and Hartwig Wesley. He looked at him as some sort of a guide, and he next made his name let's say, connected in connection with the religious philosophy and became indeed the Italian Jews of what, let's say, Mendelssohn was the German co-religious. Remember, you could strongly see just from history that many people that followed Moses Mendelssohn, many of the people went totally off the derech over here. I'm not too sure if that happened in Reggio's case, but that will be interesting to know in of itself. Now, I think, I'm using a lot of this data I've got. There's lots of information on the internet. Just reading more from a Wikipedia article over here. Now, Rabbi Reggio published at Venice an appeal in Italian for the establishment of a rabbinical ceremony, arguing that just as emperor did not desire rabbis devoid of philosophical training, neither did the Jews desire rabbis who had no rabbinical education. This appeal resulted in the establishment of a rabbinical college at Padua, for which, let's say, Rabbi Reggio drew up the educational program in of itself and ordinances to it, let's just say. And following the example, let's just say, of Mendelssohn again, Rabbi Reggio endeavored to extend the knowledge of Hebrew among the Jewish masses by translating the Bible into Italian and writing commentary thereon. His simple but clear, let's say, it was seen as an attractive style, made a deep impression, not, let's just say, only to Italian Jewry, but even German Jews. Although he believed in let's just say, I'm just using the terminology that's given here. He believed that in the main, the text of the Bible had been well guarded against corruption. He admitted that involuntary scribal errors had slipped in, and it would be no sin to correct them. The reproaches of Meir, let's say, Randega, concerning his biblical corrections, Reggio answered by stating that everyone was permitted to interpret the text according to his understanding, provided such interpretations were not in opposition of the Jewish religion. Now, an opponent of casuistry, I think Reggio rejected Agadic biblical interpretations and he'll put his study of Talmud. He was, let's just say, many of the German rabbis were against him on, let's say, his more liberal views. I think even his father did not necessarily approve of his methods. It's reported over here, just reading the article. I think come 1846, after his father passed away, the community of Goritz insisted upon accepting his rabbinical office. He would agree, but would not receive a salary on that. And he would then take this position on for 10 years and later on resign. I think it's interesting. He would write various different books, and let's just explore some of the books that he wrote. The Ma'amar Torah Min HaShamayim, I think this was printed in Vienna in 1818. The Sefer Torat Elokim in 1821, with an Italian language translation to it. HaTorah Ve Philosophia. I think there was also another book called Eben Ezra's Hanshifsha Commentaire. I think that was printed in Prague in 1840. Meftia El Megillat Esther, this was in 1841. Mizkeret Yashar, 1849. Minat HaKabbalah, this was printed also in 1852. Yalkut Yashar in 1854. He wrote metrical Italian translation to the book of Isaiah and translated into Italian prose the books of Joshua, Ruth, and Lamentations, Pirkei Avot, Ethics of Fathers, and correspondence, I think, of Mendelssohn, respectively, over there. So he would write in various different journals and so on and so forth. We've spoken about his philosophy before here inside this series, which we have to stress also, which is very, very interesting. Remember, we've spoken about various of these rabbis. He passed away himself in the year 1855. So we're talking about 170 years ago here from the time of recording. He had passed away. So we can say a bit more now just using the Haimi website. Might look at a few of the highlights of his book also inside what is actually chronicled over with regards to his let's say books of philosophy and so on and so forth. We'll explore a couple of the sections inside the book. One of them is Melamad Ta'am Shekortin Mesachet Havot Lakdim Chova Halavavot. This is one teaching, I think, from Yisod Torah Sophia, I think on the 52nd page. Another teaching from this book, I think page 138, it says Melamed Shelo Yikablu Be'inaim Sugorot Ma'ashu Yalit Haskel. This is just another teaching over there within regards to that. So yeah, he was someone that was famous, very, very well, let's say, chronicled over. I think various other websites that you can find some of his information. I think on the National Library of Israel and also in the Biblical Encyclopedia. if I'm not mistaken. There's a lot chronicled over within, also in the Jewish Virtual Library. I think various people would actually comment him on other places. I think even Oxford Library theses were built on him, if I'm not mistaken. I think the Ben Yehuda website itself will actually chronicle a lot within regards to him and feature him within regards to that. So that is something that we point out also. And so he passed away 170 years ago, I believe, here from the time of recording. So learn more about him. And we're going to try and look at this theological seminary in Italy, which I think he advocated for, maybe at a later stage in time. We're going to wait till we get more information within regards to that. Friends, we are community here. We're learning about famous rabbis yesteryear. Now, if you descend from any of the great rabbis we happen to be speaking about, please send me an email. I would love to hear more information. And if you feel anyone is interested in these videos, watching these videos, please share these videos also to other people. Friends, we are coming to a staggering at the moment 7,500 subscribers, which is a phenomenal achievement. And we can only do it with your help. So if you haven't subscribed yet, I'm urging everyone, please subscribe to the channel now and join this community as we're going from strength to strength. And we just came out of Parshat Ki Tetzeh this Shabbat. It happened to be a parsha that was enriched with many, many mitzvot. I think 74 mitzvot. And in fact, I think there's no other parsha, Torah portion inside the whole Torah, the 5 books of Moses, which actually features as many mitzvot as that, respectively. So I would recommend everyone to look into that. Wishing you all a Shavua Tov M'varach. Thanks for taking the time to watch and educate, and let's learn more about famous rabbis yesteryear. So on that note, wishing you blessings, and thanks for taking the time. Thank you.